Greetings, everyone. Happy New Year 2021. Hope you all had a happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and I did as well. One of the things that I got, well, actually, several things that I got were on a theme. I got quite a bit of Star Wars literature, actually. Um, a set of them was the Thrawn trilogy, the new Thrawn trilogy, the canon one. This one is published, I think it was 2018. No, this is 2017. 2017 is when this one was published. And so I thoroughly enjoyed this. I very, very, very much enjoyed this. So I finished this one pretty quickly, about the space of a week, with the time that I had to read it. So I remember I tried reading Heir to the Empire when I was about in junior high. It was a little bit on the too advanced for me. I couldn't do it. There were too many new characters that I didn't know, and being a younger reader, I kind of wanted to track with the characters I knew best, and the writing style was just a little bit more advanced for me at that time. But I'm much better able to do these. I did read the Heir to the Empire trilogy um, when I was finishing high school, so I did eventually come back to it. But I had read other Star Wars novels as well: the Jedi Academy trilogy, the old Han Solo trilogy, The Courtship of Princess Leia, I, Jedi, which was one of my favorites. Um, so I did read a variety of them, and eventually I got around to Thrawn towards the end of high school. But this, I didn't want to put this down. I did not want to put this down. I could have just kept going. If I had the time, I maybe could have just read it like in 1 or 2 days if I really had wanted to. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to review this book a little bit, not kind of non-spoiler, for those of you who haven't gotten into the novels, but I would just like to pique your interest if I could. So I didn't want to put this one down. It was hard to. This book follows the journey of several people who intertwine with each other in other Star Wars media later. It takes place before Star Wars Rebels, so this is between episodes 3 and 4. I don't remember exactly how many years. I mean, I guess you could look it up, but I was too lazy to look it up. But it does take place between episodes 3 and 4, and this is basically an origin story for Thrawn, how he uh, meets the Empire, how he's introduced into the Empire, and how he eventually attains the rank of Grand Admiral. It's a nice origin story for Thrawn, and also for the character of Orinda Price, who becomes Governor Price later in Star Wars Rebels. The book takes place over the course of several years. So it's not just like a singular time frame, but it takes place over a long course of time. So it's interesting watching Thrawn at this stage of his life. Watching Thrawn at this age is like watching Alex Trebek's first episode of Jeopardy! Did you ever watch that in 1980 something or other, 84? I don't remember what it was. You watch that first episode, and man, Alex is just like he's been already doing it forever. Um, I don't know what Alex Trebek's prior experience was, television experience was, but he definitely looked like he had some experience. And you watch his first episode, and you watch any other episode at any other point in his life, and it's almost as if he was always an expert at doing the show. It's kind of like that way for Thrawn as well. As far as the military and strategy goes, he always seems like he was always the expert, because he did have some experience, of course, being with the Chiss Ascendancy, where he comes from in the unknown regions. So he already has experience when we meet him in this book. So one of the things that I really enjoyed about this book is you get to see Thrawn's point of view. And not just simply that the narrator takes on what he's talking about or whatever, but it goes into italics, and it goes into his thought processes, what he's watching for. Um, it goes into seeing he watches people, and it describes their nonverbal cues, like watching like maybe their body heat, because he has those red eyes. He's able to see a little bit into the infrared spectrum, so he can watch people's body heat to see how they're reacting to things. He notices it's basic. It's like Sherlock Holmes. He's very, very observant, and he notices things. And it's very interesting to see what he notices, and I always enjoy that. It really helps bring it to life to see how people are reacting, what people are doing, thinking, their mannerisms. It really brings the image to life in my mind. So I really enjoyed that. Now, the only thing about Thrawn that he doesn't have mastered yet is in the book he starts speaking a different language before he really learns basic. Um, and his only deficiency is that he doesn't have a solid grasp of human vocabulary, although it doesn't really set him back at all. But it's interesting to see that even Thrawn has something to learn at this point in time. And he also infamously, well, well, I don't know if it's infamously or famously, but in any case, he doesn't have political experience. Dealing with dealing with pettiness and pride is not uh, in Thrawn's main processing. He's a strategist. He thinks of efficiency. He thinks of getting the job done, but he's not in the mindset of stroking people's ego. And so when you get into folks in the Empire who like their ego stroked or are there in their positions not because of their merit, but only because of who they know, you'll feel some of that friction a little bit between Thrawn and the other Imperials. Now, his mastery of tactics and observation and logic and forethought, it remains as unparalleled as it was in Legends, in his old books, like I said. But yet, Thrawn is found to have a rival who is constantly one step ahead of him, much like Professor Moriarty is always escaping Sherlock Holmes. And so that gives Thrawn a bit of motivation. For the sake of the book, Thrawn has other motivations and other ideas and thoughts that aren't really revealed until more towards the end, a little bit in the beginning and then elaborated at the end. But at least for the course of the book, he has a rival that is constantly thwarting him or eluding him. That's a better word, eluding him. Yeah, the book shows how Thrawn's no-nonsense attitude gets the job done better than most career Imperials. His rise through the ranks is kind of begrudging to the other higher-ups in high Imperial command, mainly because of the Empire's inherent racism towards non-humans. Now, as I said, politics does kind of make a big play in this book. And most Imperial characters are more interested in looking like they care and doing a good job rather than actually doing a good job. There are some people that we could say for that one nowadays. So Thrawn actually strikes me a little bit like Donald Trump in the sense that Thrawn is the outsider who shakes things up and reveals how useless and harmful the existing imperial political machine is. So it's interesting having that, how you can sort of apply modern current ideas and figures into the mix, and you can see how some ideas are timeless in that sense. Now, I've said before that one of the things that makes a story interesting to go along with, especially if it's something new, is that you need somebody new to grow along with the journey. You learn along with somebody else. And the newbie in this book is Eli Vanto. He's the unwitting, unwilling, and unprepared sidekick, but at least he has an open mind and the mental faculties to eventually do well for himself. He represents Thrawn's liaison to humanity in general. Kind of like how Commander Data from Star Trek always needs, like Picard is sort of his human liaison. Well, actually, most of the crew does. Geordi, Picard, Troy. They all kind of help guide Commander Data as he's learning more about humans. Eli Vanto sort of serves that same sort of purpose, not quite to such a huge extent as a 7-season TV show, but he gets the job done. Now, Arinda Price, at least I think it's called Arinda. Maybe I'm getting it wrong. Now, Arinda Price is shown later in the Star Wars Rebels TV series. But she starts out as a young woman who enjoyed life on Lothal. Her family owns a mining complex or a mining business, and so she kind of grew up on that. But as she grew up, she longed for the city life. She longed to get away from back world Lothal, like the country hick life, if you will, And so through political intrigue and manipulation, she finds herself both victim and victor until she becomes Governor Price of Lothal. Watching her progress through the book is really interesting because you can start off with an idea of, I'm here to do this task, or I'm kind of forced into this task because I have a better goal in mind. I have a certain goal in mind of what I want to do that's a good and noble goal, but I have to do something that's kind of in order to get to it. And then you see that the longer she's in it and the more adept that she becomes in swimming in those political waters, you find that really she bares her own teeth and becomes quite the shark herself. So it's interesting to see how her character develops. Quite different from Eli Vanto. I mean, Eli Vanto, he also grows as well, but not in the cunning aspect. But he's it's almost like a coming of age for Eli Vanto, if you will. I mean, not exactly, but it's something like that. It's more noble, less malicious, if you will. Now, happily, Colonel Yularen is a prominent character. He was featured previously in the Clone Wars series and Rebels, and Admiral Yularen was he almost reminds me of not Piet. Oh, in Empire. Oh, I'm blanking out. My lord, the fleet has moved out of light speed. Comscan has detected an energy field protecting an area of the 6th planet of the host system. The field is strong enough to deflect any bombardment. That guy, but I can't think of what his name is. Veers, General Veers. That's what it was. Okay, so yeah, Yularen kind of reminds me of General Veers a little bit. He just kind of has a little bit of that face, if you will. But anyway, I was really happy to that he was in there, and I really enjoyed having his mind, Colonel Yularen's mind, in place while I was reading that. So again, it just helps to visualize the whole thing when you know who they are. So Yularen represents Thrawn's military support. Yularen is the one who maybe not sticks out his neck for Thrawn, but he's the one who actually gives Thrawn the time of day. He's the one who actually helps, who actually gives Thrawn not even the benefit of the doubt, but actually just gives him ear, gives him consideration. So Yularen represents Thrawn's military support. Now, the book also references character meetings, which are yet to be elaborated upon in the following books of the series. I have started Thrawn, what's the name of it? Is it Allegiance? No, it's not Allegiance. It's Thrawn Alliances. That's what it is. Thrawn Alliances is book 2 of the trilogy, and I have started that one. I'm a few chapters into that one already. So there are some mentions in this book that will be referenced later in the following book. But also, Grand Moff Tarkin and Emperor Palpatine also make cameos as well. So it's neat to see those in there. It just shows that Grand Admiral Thrawn really has attention of the High Command, Imperial High Command. Now, favorite part of the book? My favorite part is when both sides lay out their cards, so to speak. and the entire plot is explained with more light than shedding more light on it than you thought could have been shed. It's like, oh, I thought it was just this, but there's all this other stuff going on here that influences all of that, all this background stuff that was either alluded to and you missed it, or it wasn't even mentioned yet. I don't know. And my mind was blown, kind of, or the mind is blown when you find out who knew what and when. And the unsaid subplots are then revealed, which places your understanding of the story and the book itself in a whole new light. And so when the curtain is lifted and you can finally see what all is going on in the works, it's kind of like, whoa, there's something bigger going on than you thought there was. Thrawn's motivation for joining the Empire is intriguing. His relationship with the Chiss ascendancy isn't really much explored until the end of the book, which is this section that I'm referencing. But I will be interested to see how that relationship grows through the next books. So, having said all of that, I thoroughly enjoyed Thrawn. Being a prequel to Star Wars Rebels, I'm interested to see how that continues to build into it and set up that series, or at least reference it. Having gotten through the first few chapters of the next book already, I can already say that there are direct tie-ins to Star Wars Rebels, as far as characters and certain events going on. And I love that it does that. I love that the story group, minus Hidalgo, because he apparently is kind of a troll. But I really like how there's a lot of cohesion going on between the different media, between the video games and the books, the novels, the comics, all of that stuff. I really like how it does that because it really does create this good cohesive thread of continuity where all these threads are tying together. So I like that. I like that a lot. So when I finish the next one, I'll go ahead and review that as well. And I have other Star Wars books that I got too. And so I'll review those as well. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you read this. It is a good read. It is a really, really good read. So it's intriguing. It's intriguing and it's entertaining. And it's weird, kind of rooting almost for the bad guy, if you will, because there are no good guys in this. There are no rebels in here. There's no other sort of legacy characters. Except for, like Imperial characters. So being everything all Imperial is interesting. Because, I mean, it's still, the Empire is still the Empire. But there are certain individuals in there who, it's interesting how they get into the Empire. It's usually under the guise of law and order, especially because of the lies that they spun about the Jedi and the Republic and such like that. And so, like I said in Lessons of the Force, when you lie to somebody enough times, then you can get them to basically believe whatever you want them to, and that will affect their motivations and their future actions. But you can see that there are people who are good people. They're good people even if what they're doing is questionable because of the circumstances surrounding them. But anyway, that's all I'll go into on that. So yes, go and read that book. It is a good one. I hope you enjoyed this. Please leave a like, a comment, a subscribe if you enjoy this content. And again, Happy New Year 2021. And as always, may the Force be with you.